Hello everyone! Today, we will be making some delicious brownies. Here are the supplies that you will need. A medium mixing bowl, preferably a microwavable one. A whisk. A 1/2 teaspoon. A regular teaspoon. A 1/2 cup. A 3/4 cup. A regular cup. A sifter, this is optional, a large mixing spoon, a small spoon, I would recommend having more than one available, a large mixing bowl, a small spatula, you can also use a knife as an alternative, a basting brush, this is optional, an 8-inch baking pan, mine is a circle, but an 8-inch square pan is also fine, and an oven mitt. Here are the ingredients that you will need. A 3/4 cup of unsalted butter, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. I would recommend using cane sugar like the one shown here. 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 3 large eggs, mine have faces, a 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, a 1/2 cup of unsweetened cacao powder. This is considered a healthier alternative to cocoa powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now let's get baking. First, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Start by adding your butter into the microwavable bowl. Before you do this, you can also go ahead and cut the butter up into chunks like the ones shown here. In a microwave, melt the butter until it is a liquid throughout. Use intervals of 30 seconds. In all, this should take about 1.5 to 2 minutes. When your butter looks something like this, use your basting brush and take a little bit of your melted butter and use it to grease your baking pan like so. Make sure you coat everything evenly and remember to do the sides. An alternative to greasing with butter is using a cooking spray. Set both the baking pan and the melted butter aside so that the butter can cool to room temperature. Next, measure out 3/4 cups of your flour and use a leveler to make it even. You can use any flat edge to level ingredients. If you are a messy baker, feel free to also keep a plate underneath your measuring utensils to catch anything that falls out. Take your large bowl and place your sifter on top of it like so. Dump out your measured out flour onto the sifter and use your spoon to help push the flour through the small holes. This is mainly done to avoid lumps in the batter. However, if you don't have a sifter available, you can skip this step. When the amount of flour in the sifter lessens to about this much, start to shake out the leftovers with a back and forth motion that should come from your wrists. When there is barely any flour left, you can just dump it into your bowl. Next, measure out 1/2 cup of cacao powder and use your leveler to make it even just like we did with the flour. Using the same technique, add the cacao powder into the sifter over the large bowl that should have your flour in it and use your spoon to direct the powder into the bowl. Make sure to keep the sifter over the bowl to avoid mess on your counter. You may have already noticed that the cacao powder is a lot more clumpier than the flour. This may make it a bit more challenging to sift out the cacao. However, this makes it a lot easier for when you begin to mix all the ingredients. When the clumps shrink and there is less powder in the sifter, use the same motion we used with the flour to get more out. You can even try tapping the bottom with your spoon. When you're finally finished with the cacao powder, add 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt into the same bowl. Using your large mixing spoon, combine all of the dry ingredients together. Try to go slow so the powder doesn't go flying everywhere. A good way to prevent making a mess is keeping your spoon connected to the bottom of the bowl as you mix. You will know you are done mixing when the dry ingredients blend into one and start to look like the color shown here. Leave the dry ingredients aside and check to see if your butter is cooled to room temperature. If it has started to solidify, put it back in the microwave, doing 10-second intervals until it is liquid again. Next, add in your 1.5 cups of sugar with the melted butter. Remember to use the leveler to even out your measurements. With this recipe, I prefer to use cane sugar because it gives the brownies a richer sweetness rather than regular white sugar. After the sugar, add in 1.5 teaspoons of your vanilla extract. Next, take your whisk and start to incorporate all of the ingredients together in the bowl. I find it easier to whisk everything at a faster speed to really get the sugar and the butter combined. When your mixture starts to look like this, you can crack in your eggs, but make sure that the butter isn't too hot or it will cook your eggs. When cracking your eggs, tap them on the rim of the bowl, and when a wide enough crack is made, you can break it open with your thumbs over the bowl as shown here. Let the yolk and egg whites fall out of the shell into your bowl. Be sure to get as much out of the eggs as you can if you want a crackly top on your brownies. When all of your eggs are cracked, go back in with the whisk and mix everything up. It is important to break the yolk and get it fully incorporated with the butter and sugar during this step. Try whisking faster to make this more efficient. The better the mixing, the fluffier your brownies will turn out because we are forcing air into our batter. You can test to see if everything is whisked well by lifting your whisk out of the bowl and seeing if it forms ribbons that fall back into the bowl. It should look something like this. Next, pour the wet ingredients into the large bowl of dry ingredients. Use your whisk to help guide the liquid and avoid any spills. If the bowl is too heavy for you to control it, ask an adult to help with this step. When most of the mixture is poured out, scrape as much as you can into the large bowl. Use a small spoon to release the little bits of liquid that are harder to reach. When you are finished transferring the wet ingredients, use your large mixing spoon to combine everything together. Initially, the dry ingredients may collect at the top, so try to mix slowly to avoid a powdery mess. You will know things are starting to bind together when you see darker patches of batter coming up to the top. It is important to keep the spoon connected to the bottom of the bowl so that all of the powder makes it into the batter. Don't forget about the sides either, occasionally scraping everything off into the main mixture. You will know your batter is ready when it looks something like this, but be careful not to overmix it. Next, pour the batter into your greased pan, this time using your spoon for guidance. Like the wet ingredients, this step may also be difficult. Ask an adult for assistance if you find yourself struggling. When most of the batter has made it into the pan, scrape the sides of the bowl, first with your large spoon and then with a small one to really get every last bit into the dish. When the batter has successfully been transferred, go ahead and shake the baking dish on your countertop in a back and forth or circular motion like so. This should evenly distribute everything before it goes into the oven. Just make sure nothing spills out the sides. By now, your oven should be heated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Go ahead and place the baking pan on the top rack of your oven and let it bake for 40 minutes. After baking, the edges should pull away from the sides of your dish. When removing the brownies, make sure to wear oven mitts. If you are not comfortable getting the brownies out of the oven on your own, seek help from an adult. If your brownies are not fully cooked after 40 minutes, leave them in the oven for an extra 5. While they are cooling, run your small spatula or knife along the edge of the pan like so. As you do this, you may need to cut your way through the brownie sides to get a good barrier. Please note that your baking dish will be hot, so try to avoid touching it with your bare hands. After about 15 minutes out of the oven, your brownies are now ready to be cut. You can use either your small spatula or a knife to do this. Feel free to cut them however you want. I'm doing squares. Your brownies are now ready and they pair great with ice cream. Hope you enjoy!